together. They wanted to visit the National Cathedral site. Well, it's a cathedral construction site. And they say for 2 years there has not been any work that has been done at the cathedral site. So for them, the announcement by Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, Finance Minister then, and now our advisor for external finance and borrowing and other issues, and they said, well, they wanted to do the commissioning because it had been announced by Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta. There were heavy police and military there. Our colleague Joseph Armstrong at some point was heckled by the police. No, by the military, not the police.
That's right.
But eventually the captain that was leading the team made the soldier apologize to Armstrong because really there was no need for that altercation to have happened at all. We'll host Okudzeto Ablakwa in a bit. And then there you see Sam George also trying to explain, because according to Sam George, there is no law in the country and there's no order that should prevent members of parliament from performing their legal duties as members of parliament. And it's instructive to mention that the cathedral project, all along we've been told that it's going to be for all of us. And if a building is being put up for all of us, all right, and I want to go and see the progress of the building, why should I be stopped?
And what would stop me? Why should I be stopped? And what would stop me from going there to see? And if you're watching us on Facebook, you can catch glimpses of what transpired yesterday. So you see some of the MPs that Johnny has mentioned in that clash with the police and the military. On social media, a lot of people were asking why the military specifically was deployed to that area, and are we overusing our military? We're always seeing them as civilians. They're in our faces. They're amongst us, which, as per Johnny, the education you give us when it comes to these matters should not be the case.
No, it should not be, because you see, the police have the formed police unit. They have the counter-terrorism unit. They have Buffalo, striking for, name them. They have people who have almost equal training like, our military guys, because sometimes they even train together. And so it's interesting how we seem to have reduced everything into, having military go round and round. Yesterday, I was watching the Ashanti Regional Minister during his speech, Independence Day speech, and he had a soldier behind him, and I was wondering, what's going on? Is our police incapable? Have they become incapable of doing their work such that at every turn we must have military all around and literally make them so civil? In the scheme of things, it's not, for me, it doesn't augur well for us, one. And one of the soldiers yesterday, when Armstrong had gone to the place earlier, he had mentioned that, well, they are there to conduct a military exercise that includes shooting. He told Joseph Armstrong that. Unfortunately, he couldn't capture that on tape.
I mean, just look at that.
But for you to say that, were you trying to instill fear in the press or what? And around that same time was when the president was busy talking about press freedom. Around that same period was when the president was busy talking about press freedom. The president has called the cathedral project the priority of all priorities. That is what he has called it, the priority of all priorities. So for him, of all the list of priorities that we have, the National Cathedral, according to the president, sits at the very top. What does that mean for the ordinary Ghanaian? I don't know.
Exactly a year ago, on 6th March 2017, the 60th year of our independence, I cut the sword for the construction of a national cathedral on my way to the Independence Square celebration. The purpose of the cathedral, as I indicated at the sword cutting, was to offer thanksgiving to the Almighty for his blessings to us as a nation, and to address a missing link in the nation's architecture by building a church for national purposes. We're grateful to the Almighty that exactly a year on, and once again on my way to the Independence Square celebrations, we're gathered here to unveil the design. I'm deeply grateful to the distinguished Board of Trustees and the eminent clergy and the Secretariat of the Cathedral Project for working around the clock to make this possible. One of the significant developments of the past year was the commissioning of an architect for the Cathedral project. I'm proud to announce to the nation that we have commissioned one of the most iconic of contemporary global architects and a son of Ghana, David Ajay, as the main architect for the project. Throughout history, what has distinguished the great cathedrals and those with a national character is the broad mobilization of the entire community in support of the building and maintenance of the cathedrals. Before the cathedrals, this was true of the temples and the tabernacle. On Sunday, the 25th of February this year, I visited the Washington National Cathedral to go and worship, and was reminded once again of this truth. The challenge of building Ghana's national cathedral, therefore, relates to the mobilization of our people in support of the project. The broad representation of the Ghanaian Christian community at this event shows the emergence of a national coalition that will arise and build the cathedral to the glory of God.
And that's Dr. Pabobo's Unyame Sumponi. Is this what you call Christianity? And if you had not been a Christian, dear, and Kaba June, dear, no bio. It's 56 minutes after 8 here on 3FM 92.7. This is the Sunrise Morning Show. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa joins us on the phone line. Honorable, thank you very much indeed for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, Johnny. Thank you for having me.
Great. Yesterday, when you went to the National Cathedral site, who sent you there?
Mekoho koye nyame ejuma and Ghana for ejuma. Let me extend warm regards to all your distinguished listeners. So, as every Ghanaian is aware, this project is arguably the biggest project that has ever been undertaken. At the time the project was discontinued by the contractors leaving site for lack of payment, even though a whopping $58.1 million had been sunk into what has become now famously referred to as the world's most expensive pit. You need to acknowledge that the government had budgeted over $450 million for this project. Now, this $450 million does not include the costs of compensation. Remember that so many properties were demolished. The Scholarship Secretariat, the Passport Head Office, Judges Bungalows, the Judicial Training Institute, the COMSIS IT firm headquarters, Waterstone Realty Apartment Complex, the bungalows belonging to Shraj, and the Malian ambassador's residence. If you put all of these compensation claims, I remember some of them are in court, this project will be in the region of $1 billion. So this is such a tax guzzler. And it is important that all of us who are concerned about the welfare and the well-being of our state, how come we are now bankrupt, we are insolvent, we are desperately in search of an IMF bailout, and the finance ministry is now writing to the president, when we work hard and pass laws in parliament, those laws may not see the light of day because the finance ministry say they are desperate for money because of so-called loans, which will be paying back anyway.
Right.
The president should not assent to certain bills. So we went there yesterday because this has been the most scandal-riddled project. And remember that yesterday is significant because that is the day the president assured God, Parliament, and the Ghanaian people that he will be commissioning the project, which he described as his priority of priorities.
Right.
Now, what are the concerns we have?
Tell me.
One, this is a project which has been premised on lies, a foundation of blatant falsehood. We were told that this will be a private effort. It is the president's personal pledge to God. And he assured us, including the clergymen, and your listeners can Google and you see the Archbishop Nicholas and Duncan Williams telling everybody to stop criticizing the project because they are not going to use taxes, and that the president has assured them. Even when James Kwabena Bonfe went to the Supreme Court saying that this national cathedral will open the floodgates, that Muslims will soon demand a national mosque, traditionalists will soon demand a national shrine, the Attorney General went to the Supreme Court in response and said that they have been assured by the president that this is not going to be a governmental project. It's not going to be funded with our taxes. So
that's correct.
The Supreme Court should dismiss the case. And the Supreme Court granted the wishes of the Attorney General, and the case was dismissed.
That's
Only for us to start intercepting documents which reveal that on our blind side, in flagrant violation of the Constitution, monies were being withdrawn without parliamentary approval. In this country, nobody, not president, not chief justice, not speaker, nobody has the authority to spend money without parliamentary approval. You cannot dip your hands in public resources in the consolidated fund if you have not received parliamentary approval.
That's correct.
So that is the first fundamental issue. Now, the second fundamental issue relates to other legal breaches. So on the 4th of July 2022, I sent an RTI request, a right information request, to the Public Procurement Authority, finding out if they knew about the National Cathedral project and if they have granted any approval to Ribadi, the JV that is executing the project. The JV comprising of Rizani Di Eka, Babi Soti, and Disimoni. And then I also wanted to know the procurement method, whether it was single source, sole source, or whether it was competitive. To my utter shock, the PPA responded that they have no knowledge of the project, that nobody came to seek procurement approval from them, and that no contract, so far as they are concerned, has been awarded to Ribadi. Can you believe that? A $450 million project. People just took public funds and then went on a demolition spree and decided to say they are building for God. Look, if there is any project, all of us as Christians, we know what the Christian standards are. If there is any project, we should be pursued with integrity, with utmost holiness, purity, with transparency and accountability. It should be this project. But look at how it started. On a foundation of lies, personal pledge. We are not using public funds, only for it to be exposed. Then you come to, even after all of these constitutional and legal breaches and the deception, we then decided to follow the money. The $58.1 million we have discovered, based on documents submitted to Parliament by the National Cathedral Secretariat, documents submitted by the Finance Minister when he faced the vote of censure committee, and our own additional intercepted documents. We have discovered that monies were not going into the project. As we speak, Carrie Summers is keeping $19.6 million. Can you believe that? That is 250 million Ghana cedis.
Right.
It doesn't happen anywhere. A project that you have withdrawn $58 million and 19.6, almost $20 million is going to one person. Then there's another American called Carrie Summers. He is keeping $6 million. Then there is the Reverend Kusi Boateng Kwabena Edu Jemfi, who also was given 2.6 million Ghana cedis. And we all know the kind of worms that, unraveled. So as we speak, the contractor 2 years ago, Ribade JV, left side for lack of payment. That is why when Bishop Dag Heward Mills was resigning in his resignation letter, he said it does not sit well in his conscience that he will be serving on a board where over $30 million, at the time he was resigning, now it's $58 million. $30 million, and all he sees is a pit. And then according to him, he says that it looks like there is a cabal somewhere taking the real decision, that they were not asked to take a decision on architects. President said he has his own architect. They were not asked to decide on location. President said he had his own location. They didn't have a hand in the demolition. So you ask yourself, what is happening here? No wonder Pastor Otabil has resigned, Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams has resigned, Reverend Susanaba has resigned, and in their resignation letter, they said that they have been demanding an audit.
Right.
They are not being given any information.
But Deloitte,
about the audit
but Deloitte has been mandated to do that audit. Do we have the report yet?
Brilliant question. So if you read our 13-point demand, the 13 demands we have made, it is one of the demands we are making, that the Deloitte audit should be published. This audit, the National Cathedral Secretariat, following all the scandals, then decided that they will invite Deloitte, also upon the request of some of the Board of Trustees who were scandalized at the things I was putting out. This was on the 24th of January, 2023. It's been more than a year. Now, the information we are picking up, and a few days ago, Bryce Simmons also confirmed that the audit is so damning, and what we know now is that the report is so damning that the Secretariat is sitting on this report. That is why we are also saying that, look, this whole structure should even be closed down. The Board of Trustees should be dissolved. The National Cathedral Secretariat should be shut down. Are you aware that so far a staggering 225 million has been released to this Secretariat?
For what?
So it is a tax guzzler. They have to answer what they've used the money for. It is a tax guzzler. Look, if you look at the organogram, and yesterday we shared it with the media, a very complex organogram with so many people. Look, we cannot continue at this rate. A country that is bankrupt, that is insolvent, that has been downgraded to junk status by Moody's, Fitch, Standard & Poor's, a country that is doing financial haircuts, pensioners can't have access to the monies they have worked for all their lives. We cannot continue on this wastage, on this total dissipation. Look, Johnny, the contract itself is such a horrible contract. Are you aware that these 2 years that the contractor hasn't worked, a lot of cost is accruing because of the nature of this contract?
Right.
There are 3 items there called standing time claims. As the contractor is not working, we are going to be paying him. As the contractor is not working, there's something called suspension time claims.
I see.
Then there's another third item called abortive work and rework. So all this period that work has been aborted and you have to come back to site, we are going to pay for that. It's such a horrible contract. That is why we are demanding that the contract should be terminated. It should be abrogated.
But have we not come too far looking at the spend? And maybe you'd guide us how much, in your estimation, has been spent so far on the Cathedral project. But have we not come too far to just throw our hands in despair and say we are ending it?
Look, yes, a lot has been sunk in, and as I speak to you, even this $58 million I keep talking about, do you know it does not include the cost of compensation for all the demolished properties? The Chief Justice needs $50 million to replace the Judicial Training Institute, which was demolished. That is not part of the $58 million. They are also as we speak, constructing replacement bungalows for the judges. That is coming at millions of Ghana cedis. The passport head office has been replaced at 10 million cedis. Comsys IT firm, they are now being compensated at Labone. Then if you talk about Waterstone Realty, they have gone to court because the bungalow they were given, when they went there, national security operatives have hijacked the place. They say they will not move. Can you believe that? Same government. So the people have been frustrated for over a year. They have gone to the High Court demanding compensation. Then I haven't talked about the scholarship secretariat, which hasn't been replaced yet. The Malian ambassador has only recently been given land at Airport Residential. You know the cost, and we are waiting for the cost of replacing his residence. So it's a total madness. So look, we cannot continue at this rate. And remember that the cost of this project started at $100 million.
That's
then
right.
it kept escalating, 150, 200, 250, 300. Now it's 450. And even now, if you look at inflation and you look at all the time that has been wasted because of diversions, because of corruption, this $450 million, I won't be surprised if they come back and say that, look, to finish this at what really you want, you need more than $700 million. And don't forget that all this cost is just the cost of the shell, the infrastructure. If you look at the contract, it doesn't include the museum artifacts. So we now have to go and shop around the world for Christian artifacts. And you know artifacts can be very expensive. These collectors, before they release the items in their possession,
That's
you
right.
pay millions of dollars. So
That's right.
why are we on this journey? Why are we on this journey? Why? I mean, have we as a country sat down and have we had the discussion that we need a national cathedral? Why is somebody's personal pledge to God? Look, all of us, we go to church. We make personal pledges.
All right.
I remember my last election, I had a certain target. When I met it, I had promised God that I'll go to the children's hospital at the Pato Catholic Hospital and pay their bill.
Right.
I just went to do it. I didn't call a staff deba and say, everybody contribute, everybody in Northtown, I am going to tax all of you. Help me to fulfill my personal pledge.
Right.
It doesn't happen anywhere. It is against Christian doctrine. So how does a personal pledge become what you will call a national commitment, a national obligation? So we need to have a discussion on these matters.
I see.
And that has not been done.
How soon do you expect that your demands, as you read out yesterday, would be addressed or attended to?
Immediately, time without number. Immediately, without any further delay. Look, Johnny, the contract, every day that is not terminated, we are incurring costs. The secretariat, if it's not dissolved, we are paying. We are paying people. All this, we have a church relations manager. We have a Christian diaspora manager. We have all kinds of managers, globe-trotting, fundraising people, globe-trotting. We cannot continue like that. We must stop the hemorrhage. We say we are broke. We say we can't replace imaging machines across our hospitals. Dialysis machines are not there. We cannot continue this way. So we are insisting that immediately the president should intervene and make sure all of these demands that we have made are met. We also expect that the few men of God who are left there, they should just think about how we hold them in high esteem, their reputation, and follow the example of their colleagues, the majority who have left. They should follow them and also leave. I'm surprised that Reverend Mate, in particular, who was so vociferous when we were in power, looking for Nyansafwe. You remember his
I remember that,
dream.
of course, yes.
So, can he see any Nyansafwe act or conduct in what is going on here? I can't believe that he's silent on these matters.
The president has called the cathedral project the priority of all priorities. Do you think that if somebody has taken this stance, he would now, do a U-turn to come and side with you on these demands that you're making and asking that they be implemented immediately?
You see, the president got it totally wrong, when he thought that he could deceive us, when he thought that he could engage in this grand scam. And you see how the Almighty has exposed him. Look, God should not be toyed with. God should not be played games with. If you want to create a gig for your friend architect David Ajayi and your contractor friends, you want some scheme to siphon funds, leave God's name out of it. Don't tell us that you are going to do some thanksgiving, personal thanksgiving to God. You won't use our taxes, only for you to do this. And then you were also thinking that all of us Christians will follow blindly,
right,
and we will not demand Christian standard accountability.
Right.
So look, the president should put aside this so-called priority of priority. This whole project has been exposed as a scam that it is. We need a commission of inquiry to quickly look into this. People must be prosecuted for causing financial loss to the state. Why are we silent that David Ajayi is keeping a $19.6 million? Why are we accepting that? Carrie Summers, who I went to find in some ramshackle coffee warehouse in America, he is no CEO of any Nehemiah group. It was just a sham. Why is he keeping a $6 million? How come the contractor, despite all of these millions of dollars being released for this project, how come the contractor was not being paid, the contractor is owed, and the contractor had to abandon site for lack of payment? So where did the monies go? And why are people not being held accountable? Why is nobody facing prosecution for causing financial loss to the state? So these are the demands we are making, and we are serving notice that if they do not act, and if the MPP MPs continue to sabotage our parliamentary inquiry,
right,
which I expect to proceed, even if they don't send us the names of their members who should serve on the committee, we are serving notice that when the NDC returns to power, people are going to be lined up and prosecuted for causing the most monumental financial loss in the entire history of our country. People are not going to get away with this blatant fraud.
The site of the cathedral construction, if the president decides to listen to you and the men of God speak up and we say, okay, we have stopped, what should we be using that site for?
Very important question you have asked. So if you look at item number 13 on our demands list, we are calling for a national debate. Fortunately, the TUC has started. They came up with a brilliant suggestion that we should use it for a hospital. There are others who have written to me that we should, with Ghana lacks a specialist children's hospital. We don't have a modern pediatric center, and that we should consider the site for that. I believe that some of these suggestions coming up will be more pleasing to God than these diversions that are going on in the name of building a cathedral. So I would want, particularly you in the media, to trigger some national debate. So if we can arrive at a consensus, then that should feed the NDC manifesto and indeed manifestos of all the other parties, so that moving forward, because look, we are all clear in our mind. I remember that even when the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams and Reverend Sulandaba were resigning, in their letter, they said that in principle they don't think that it's a bad idea to build a church for God, but the scope, this thing has virtually gone out of scope, and they are saying that look, even with $50 million, they can build something so magnificent, so beautiful, and that this whole project should be re-scoped, reworked.
Okay.
That is their suggestion.
Right.
There are others who say that look, this whole, as Kwame Pianim asks, have you met even a single Ghanaian who has told you that they don't have a church to worship? And this whole claim, and I heard the tourism minister repeat that at his vetting, that this will be such a major tourist attraction.
Right.
Who is deceiving them? Look, which Christian is going to leave Israel and where Jesus really walked, where there are biblical, historical ties, and come to an Accra cathedral as a tourist because they took one tiny stone from Israel and brought it here? A stone that we don't even know after all of this disaster.
I see.
Whether the stone is still there.
Great.
Look, look, we are better off even investing in our forts and castles, investing in our Kakum National Park and all of these famous monkey sanctuary, all of these unique tourist destinations that people want to see, than this so-called
I hear you. Honorable
Israel annex.
Honorable, let's wrap up the conversation this way. Yesterday, you had a face-off of a sort with military officers. I saw a captain from the signals unit of the Ghana Armed Forces Burma camp and some soldiers and policemen. This will be the second time that the work of Parliament has been intruded, if you like. Parliamentarians are being stopped from doing their work by the military. The first was when Speaker Bagbin was going to be elected as Speaker. We saw a colonel, now a general, in the chamber with his boys. And yesterday we saw a captain under strict orders, we don't know from whom yet, also stopping members of Parliament from doing their work. 30 seconds. What do you say to that?
The increasing use of the military in civilian activities is wrong. The abuse of the military to undermine democratic, legitimate actions must be condemned. And we take a serious view of this situation. We are going to raise this matter in Parliament. And we have identified all the people. Look, when you are sent to go on these, unlawful missions, look, that road, we use it every day. It is only yesterday because we advertised we are going to have a media engagement, we are going to show people the world's most expensive pit. Then they decide to deploy these soldiers to just handle and harass us. But we will continue to be resolute, we will not be intimidated. But we are going to raise this matter in Parliament. We will seek to haul all these their superiors. Unfortunately, when we demanded of them to tell us who above, because they only said instructions from above to stop us.
Right.
We will be pursuing this to know those above, whether it's the commander-in-chief himself or who, we want to know, so that we can really take these people on and stop these practices. It is totally wrong. You don't do this. You see, you undermine the hard-won image and reputation of the Ghana Armed Forces when you continue to do these things.
Now, yesterday you did a commissioning. We saw the balloons and the ribbons. You orchestrated those to be taken there?
Definitely, it was all part of our program, and I must commend the volunteers. Young people volunteered to put those balloons together. They beautifully put them together in Ghana colors, and I'm glad that they did all of that at no cost. Look, many Ghanaians have had it, and they are saying that, look, enough is enough. This wanton dissipation cannot continue. And you see, the president was hoping that we will all forget the promise he made to us in Parliament and to the Almighty, and the day will pass without activity. That is why we, in a very symbolic way, did that commissioning, so that he will know that everything he has said about this project, we are watching, and we are not going to sleep on the job. We are not going to turn a blind eye. We are not going to allow scarce resources to be dissipated in this manner. Look, 19 people died because we say we don't have 4 million cities.
Right.
19 people died at Kolebu, and over $58 million. That is 740 million Ghana cedis. I mean, we cannot sit idle. We cannot be derelict, because if we do that, we will be complicit. We will become part of those who have ruined our country. At least, let's make an effort to salvage what is left.
I hear you. Now that you have commissioned this project and you called it Nyame Juma, when is the first service going to happen?
We are waiting for Reverend Johnny Hughes to convene that one. As for that one, it's above we haven't been called. We don't have any special revelation like the president had. We haven't had any special revelation to start convening church services. But you have to be careful you don't get drowned in that pit. It's quite a dangerous pit. Yeah.
Honorable Sam Okudzeto Ablakwa, thank you very much for your time this morning. We're grateful.
Always welcome.
Thank you very much indeed.
Steve.